I have had some clients that don't want to do that because they're scared they're going to break it. In that case, have, you know, their husband, wife, kids, have someone hold the door open for the dog and have the dog just used to going back and forth through the door. A lot of times dogs have issues going through tight spaces like this. Generally dogs don't like going through a space that they can't turn around. Generally dogs won't back away from things, they turn their whole body around. So that's why these can be sometimes a little bit of an issue. Now with Doormans, it's perfectly fine to use food to motivate them to go back and forth, because getting them to go through is the goal. So you can do that, toys, food, whatever, have at it. So you want them to train either with the flap off or holding the flap back, I would say for a few days until they see that the dog's comfortable. Now every dog is different. I have had some dogs that this is an eternal process. It takes them 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I have seen it done in as little as 2 days. It just depends on the dog. And you have to let the client know a lot of this product depends on the confidence of the dog and the consistency of your training. So if you slack off on the training, it's going to take longer for your dog to get on it if the dog is uncomfortable in tight spaces. But once the dog is okay with walking through this door, next step is, if the door's been off, put the door back on if you're holding it. So if you're holding the door, let the dog walk out and gently place the door against his back to essentially rub down the dog's back. That's another one that's kind of hard for some dogs to get used to, having that just kind of rub on their back. And you want to start lightly start letting it rest on their back, both directions when they're coming in and out. Lightly start resting on their back. As you're getting better at that, at first some dogs don't care. This step might not even be a problem. They'll go right through it. But little by little start giving them less and less help, bringing that door lower and lower to the point where, you know, you're barely holding it. And eventually the dog will start going through and going through, because the dogs stack information and they'll start realizing, oh, I can push this, I can push this, I can push this. And then the true test comes when you don't do anything with the door. Now this whole time we've been doing this training, it always stays on unlock. You're not even attempting auto, you're always on unlock still. Now then, once the dog can start pushing the door, now it does have a little bit, so the dog has to put his nose into it a bit, or his paw, depending on how smart the dog is. Then you're good to go. Once they've mastered the flap as a whole, then you can start attempting auto. And auto is going to take a little bit of time too, because the door needs time to pop open, so the dog has to learn timing. And they will learn it, but again, I've had dogs that learn this door in a week or two. I've had dogs it takes about 2 months for them to learn it. It just depends on the dog. So make sure you're letting clients know that. Other than that, that's pretty much all that the training is. You're just taking the steps of opening the door and breaking it down into its most basic components. So with holding the door, if they're not going to be taking the door off, it's a really good training session. This is a really good training to do with kids if they have kids. They can have kids crawl through, hold it, pretty much be as distracting as they want to be, and the dog will benefit from it. So, big training mistake that you have to make sure you're telling clients not to do: do not shove your dog through the door and do not drag him through with a leash. You will only freak them out more, making them want to use the door less and less. So, always their choice.